Hello.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good
Um,
stuff.
yeah, I had a really relaxed morning, so of course I had to rush the last couple of minutes.
That's always the way.
Yeah, exactly. I had my morning coffee, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we're gonna have a nice talk in a couple
Yeah.
of minutes," and then, oh fuck, now I have to rush. But I've got my
Uh,
tea, my
yeah.
my herbal tea, and I'm ready to go, my friend.
Good stuff. Yeah, I've got my coffee. Second one
Oh,
today.
nice.
Yeah. So it's all good.
Cool.
Yeah. Shall we
You've
do
got a, you've got a lovely background with some
yeah.
lovely cups.
Yeah. So I do a lot of historical reenactment, and I teach cookery. So I end up with lots of cups, pottery, millstones, yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Cool.
But it makes a good backdrop for the podcast.
Indeed, indeed. It's also a
Yeah.
bit how my household is looking, or I mean, all my cutlery and stuff is all basically all historical glasswork, and
Yeah.
of course pottery.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of mine sits here when it's not being used.
Oh yeah.
I keep it
Like
for events normally, but yeah, I should probably just use it daily, right?
yeah. Like a couple of years ago, I think five. No, yeah, a little bit more than 5 years ago, I just get rid of all my modern cups and got myself a lot of extra pottery and stuff from the Iron Age, early medieval period, and
Yeah.
then I just started using them every day, all day.
Nice.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
I'll have to
really
think
should,
about doing that.
you really should do that.
I
Like
like behind me here, I've literally got stacks of cups. I don't know if you can see
exactly.
them.
I was seeing them the first because I think
Yeah.
that had to be or something like that. Haitebu maybe, or
Yeah.
it looks
Yeah.
looks similar to that. So
I think these ones I had these made by she's a lady, she's called Anot Potts, and she does multi-period stuff.
uh,
So she made these in the style of like just general Saxon pottery.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Good.
don't know why I've never really thought about using them day to day.
It will enrich your life. It
Yeah,
did for me
yeah,
because you know somebody made it with their hands, right? And with a lot of
mm.
love and with a lot of nerd energy, and you really feel that.
Yeah,
It's alive. It's really alive.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My latest one I've just got. I'm starting to look into Bronze Age. So she's made me
Yeah,
this Bronze Age cup, which is beautiful.
exactly. But the beautiful thing is that it is absolutely the same, but the pottery itself, the clay is a little less of quality, but basically there's no different. The shape is the same, the patterns are the same.
We will. I once we've properly started, I was going to ask you about your interest in history and reenactment and that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll get into that as well.
Yeah, let's
Um,
do it.
or I can leave all of this in and people can hear us geek out about pottery.
I will do that. I think that's a perfect introduction.
All
Introduction.
right. So I have written a bunch of questions. Often I find that questions get answered within other questions. So I'm fairly adaptable. It's more of a conversation, right, than a
Yeah, exactly. I also
yeah.
love more of a conversation type than a monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge difference there. So let's
Yeah.
do just a dialogue that is hopefully interesting.
I'm sure it will be. Yeah. Hello and welcome back to the Will I Vike It podcast. I'm your host, Craig. And today my guest is Faber from Sowulo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. Hopefully I said your name right. I'll be honest, I didn't check before.
Well, in Dutch you say Faber, so with a long
Faber. Okay.
yeah, but like a lot of Scandinavian people say Faber.
Yeah.
So Faber or Faber, it's all fine.
Faber. All right. So I thought I've got quite a lot of questions for you, I must admit.
So
Because I've listened to your music, but I've not really kind of seen anything about yourself or the band, kind of the man behind the
yeah,
music, that kind of
I
thing.
can imagine.
Um, I don't know whether you avoid this kind of thing normally, but I've not seen any interviews with you or anything.
Exactly. Like I'm not avoiding it, but I really love when the music does the talking.
Yeah,
But I really feel that it's now time to explain a bit more because there's so much to explain actually. Um,
yeah,
and so yeah, I think there's gonna be a new chapter, and I'm gonna be more out in the open as a person, I think.
yeah,
Because yeah, like I said, there's a lot to explain.
yeah. So you're in the Netherlands. Did you grow up in the Netherlands, I'm guessing?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm basically in the middle of the Netherlands, and fortunately in the more greener area. We
yeah,
call it the Green Heart as well. It's called the Veluwe, and but like everything around it. So actually, the city where I live, the city of Arnhem, it's just concrete jungle everywhere in the
yeah,
Netherlands. But we've got this nature place, a really big one, or for our little country, it's a big one.
yeah.
So fortunately, I'm really close to there, and indeed, it shaped me and inspired me. Yeah, in my youth, and still does.
Hmm. So when did you first become interested in playing and then eventually writing music?
Mm. Like I started playing music when I was 10, and then I started with playing classical piano.
Yeah,
And I think when I was 14 or 15, I wanted to play rougher music like metal. So I really wanted to have some guitar lessons. So
yeah,
I did that for a year. Um, and so I could play piano and guitar. And then when I was 17 or 18, I got involved with my first band, and that was a folk metal band. And we started playing, or they were already a thing, and they were a black metal band. And back in that day, I was really into black metal.
yeah,
And I joined on keys, so I really hoped that we could go on this melodic way of black metal. Let's say a kind of a Dimmu Borgir or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
But when I joined, they completely stopped with that, and they said, "Okay, with you on board and having keyboards, we're gonna do a completely different thing. We're gonna go for folk metal." And I was like, "What? What is no, 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 don't do that. That is childish." And and that was back in 2005.
yeah.
So that was completely new folk metal, or yeah, yeah, it was quite new.
Hmm.
And like I really had to adapt on that part because I was longing to play in a black metal band, and then they switched instantly in the genre. And then I asked, like, what is this all about? Why do you want to make music about Vikings and silly childish stuff? And then I got some books, and then I really loved what I was reading, and then I
Yeah,
went into Scandinavian mythology, and then I was just completely hooked. And then in 2008, uh, Vartruna released some music on MySpace, and I discovered that, and that just blew my mind.
yeah.
And yeah, basically it took off from there. It took quite a while because I didn't want to copy anything Einar was making,
Hmm.
because like I really respected the music, and I really
Yeah,
felt like I really want to make this, but I should not do that out of respect. So then I just played around with completely different instruments and stuff. And then the
yeah.
first album came out with piano and Irish flute and violin for solo.
Yeah.
So that sounded completely different. And then the second album, Soul, was really acoustic, but already much more Nordic orientated. Because I was back in that day, I was listening a lot to Garmarna
Mm.
and Gjallarhorn, stuff like that. Really
Yeah.
traditional Scandinavian folk music. And after that album, I really felt okay. Now there are so many. I have to be polite. I wanted to say copycats, but wait, like there were so many other players on in the genre who
Yeah.
already uh, flirted a lot with the sound of Wardruna and
Yeah, we've mentioned it before. I've had Jameson from Nordic Sound Channel on before, and
yeah,
we've discussed that a bit before. There's so many kind of people that
oh
I
yeah,
suppose want to be, maybe not
exactly.
want to be Einar, but they want what Wardruna is, I guess.
Well, I think it's pretty freaky what is happening actually, but like after that acoustic album, I thought now I can allow myself to to um to be more in that range of the genre, but of course
Mm.
still completely different. But I that was 2018, so that was 10 years after I heard Vardruna for the first time. and
Mm.
and I really think and I hope that I really made something a new blend. um I'm inspired by a lot of music genres and music styles, and but I will not deny that Badruna really uh was the kickoff for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're so, would you class Sowulo as a band? Because a lot of your music
Hmm.
is more like a composition. It sounds very orchestral.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, like no, it's not really a band. It's also what I try to explain to everyone. Also my musician, how I got them in. Like it's basically I'm the how do you say it? Who's in front of the orchestra? Uh,
Like the conductor.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm more the
Yeah.
conductor, but also like the composer and the producer, and like everything you hear, every layer is created by me and thought of by me. Like also the lyrics and also the concepts of the album, everything uh, comes from my hand. So I see myself as the father of
Yeah.
Sowulo, and what Sowulo is maybe difficult, but I always put it like it's my spiritual output in music language. um, and I've got a really amazing group around me, and that started because I needed to do my music live again after the pandemic on stages, and
Yeah.
in that period, the music became really orchestral. So I needed a lot of musicians. So nowadays I've got like 8 other musicians who join me on stage. So we're with 9 people. Um, and so I always say like we're kind of a Viking orchestra. Like it is a joke, but like ultimately that is the aim here. Like
Yeah.
being really orchestral, but I would like to include more and more historical instruments.
Because with the Viking influence, I've read your, I don't know if this is correct, but I read that your lyrics are in Anglo-Saxon. Is that
Yeah,
right?
like all the lyrics are in Anglo-Saxon.
So what made you choose Anglo-Saxon over Old Norse, for instance?
Um, because it's really close to Old Frisian. It is
Okay.
extremely related. So when I was thinking about doing lyrics, that came from me doing Galder and Cider. So
Mm.
singing, magical singing techniques. And because I was doing that, I didn't wanted to use modern Dutch because I wanted to have an element of our ancestors in there.
Yeah.
And then um, and then I was searching for Old Frisian because that is the closest thing I could get from the language of the
Yeah.
ancestors of the land where I'm built off, like I grew up in. And but that is really difficult because there are just a few archaeological founds with Old Frisian texts,
Mm.
like really small little words and stuff, but not complete sentences. Um, and then a friend of mine who's a linguistic, she told me like, that Old Frisian and Anglo-Saxon is basically the same, right? It's developed from the same language root, and
Yeah.
because of the immigrants from Anglos like Denmark and the Saxons, the German, the Northern German part,
Yeah.
and the Frisians who all went to England. So it's a really a blend, right? And then she gave me some Anglo-Saxon rune poems, and I was just completely amazed by it because if you speak it out loud as a Dutch person, you really feel that it's close to your language, but it feels ancient. So it has the
Yeah.
the magical and the ancestral energy. And then back in that day, that was like 2018 that this happened, and I was starting to work with it more in a magical singing, so not with my output with Sowulo, but just for myself personally.
Yeah.
And then I was making a third album, the Mon album, and that was instrumental, and it was almost done. And then she gave me this really short rune inscription on an antler, and it's called Woes Wildum. And I was making an instrumental, one of the last instrumental songs when I wrote it, and I just started chanting that on the track that I was working on, and it just matched completely. And then I thought, okay, I've still got some weeks until we're done with the mixing part of that album in the
Yeah.
studio. So I allowed myself to try to make more lyrics, and then the Man album became the first solo album with lyrics, and they're all Anglo-Saxon. And the crazy
Mm.
thing is that it is extremely difficult. This process is insane. It takes me so much more time than making the music. It's crazy
Yeah. Yeah.
because like I do my utter best to write the Anglo-Saxon lyrics as correct as possible, and then I send
Yeah.
it to this friend of mine who's a linguist, and she corrected the best she can. She will send it back to me, and then everything is fucked because I try to make it already fit on the music, but
Yeah.
then grammar is fucking a lot because words change when you say certain things. If you say just one thing to one person or to two person or several persons, that completely changed the grammars. And after that, I'm shaving that a little bit, and then I send it to the University of Leiden here in in the Netherlands. And then this professor has this little club with students, 4 or 5 of them, and they correct the lyrics, and then they
Wow.
send it back to me, and then I pick out some lines that I really can use and maybe cancel some out, and then we have contact about pronunciation, and then I can finally record it. So it's crazy. It's completely mad.
So do you put, I'm assuming, because you put so much effort into the words themselves, they obviously have an importance. I think
Yeah.
we'll go into kind of the pagan elements a bit later because I've got some questions on that as well.
Yeah.
Um, but because you put in quite a lot of effort into the lyrics, someone like myself that doesn't understand the Anglo-Saxon, do you think
Mm.
it matters? Like, does the meaning of the song still come across? Should I be looking to understand what you're singing?
Yeah, both. Like
Yeah,
yeah, I really hope that people will try to figure out what the hell I'm saying. If they love a song, and I know at least one person that has a piece of my lyrics in Anglo-Saxon inked on the underarm,
wow.
and she told me like, oh yeah, this song came on the right moment in my life. I really really loved it. Then checked out the lyrics, and it was insane. I just felt, before I knew what the lyrics meant, I really
Yeah.
felt what it meant. So so of course I really always really hope that it will do something like that with people.
Mm,
But I really think that like the sound of the words are magical in itself. So that is the main key.
yeah.
And indeed, I also uh, take a lot of effort to make it really, really correct. And so I really take the energy seriously, but also what I really want to say. It all really needs to connect, and when everything
Yeah.
connects, and when everything got all the love and attention, then something becomes really magical. It has all to do with the effort. It
Mm,
needs to take a lot of time. It needs to take a lot of sweat, tears, blood. It's like making how do you say that? Um, a carpentry, or no, how do you say it? Like you need to make it, to weave something, right? And like
yeah.
back in the day, to weave something, you first need to shave your sheep, and then make all the wool clean, and then comb
Mm,
the wool, and then slowly make threads of it. That will take weeks, right? And then when you have threads,
mm,
you can make this tapestry, and maybe you want to make a story in the tapestry, right? With figures in there, and make
yeah.
tapestry on the wall for your longhouse, for example, right? And have
Mm,
this complete story on there with figures and horses and people fighting and symbols and trees. Like that will take so much time. It will take so much sweat and blood and
that's a good analogy. I like that.
yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
yeah, that's the magical thing about creating music and also creating lyrics. Yeah.
So, with regard to the lyrics themselves, what is your main inspiration for what you're writing?
Mm. So really stripped back, or in the foundation of it, it's all about Sowulo or Seagull or Sowulo. It's like the sun, right? So the
Mm,
the rune of the sun, and like our existence here on Earth, or reality, if you would like to say, like it all is there because of the sun, or let's say the sun is a really central point,
yeah.
because without the sun there would not be any life on Earth to start with. And
Mm,
because of the sun, we've got something that we experience as day and night. And and therefore we've got this cyclical way of living and thinking, um, on a really superficial level, but also in a really deep level. So everything that I write about in the lyrics and the music itself are basically a dedication to the sun and the cyclical way of our reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, that can be on a really symbolical level and really deep and mysterious level, but also more plainly. But that is basically all what it is, what it is about. Yeah.
Yeah. So with your sort of like you have a bit of a general interest in history, I think you were saying as well before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So are you also interested in kind of like the old Anglo-Saxon magic and that kind of stuff? Do you know anything about that?
I know a little bit about it because
Yeah.
what I know about it is like, if you look at the charms, right? Are we speaking about the Anglo-Saxon charms?
There's lots of like charms and like herbal remedies
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
and
so
like
in
you got
short,
like the nine herbs charm, for instance, where
yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
exactly,
reciting something. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, let's call them the charms because basically
Yeah.
that is the charms, and like, it's a bit like the same as the Edda. All these charms are written down by monks. Like Christian people wrote them down. They could
Mm,
write. They had paper and they had ink and stuff like that and time to write it all down.
yeah.
So there are absolutely, like, it's exactly the same as the Edda. It has absolutely, let's say, pagan or yeah, pagan foundations,
Mm,
but ultimately saying it's written down by Christian people and influenced by the Christian thinking. And I must say, like, now it sounds that I think that is a bad thing, but that's absolutely not the case, because I think every no, not every, but like a lot of spiritual outputs in what form, whatever, is a
mm,
really beautiful thing. And I think that Christianity is in its essence really beautiful. And like the old days, how they did it, I still would completely welcome every type of belief, right?
mm.
But they did some bad stuff in the
Yeah,
history, right?
absolutely.
So I don't really like that so much. So I really try to keep it really close to, um, yeah, let's say how I feel it or
Mm,
what I need in my life.
yeah.
And that is basically also trying to get rid of Christianity in a way, and all this dogma.
Mm,
You have to do this like this, or um, it is written, so it is as it is written, stuff like that. So I really try to keep it in a feeling area, and all these texts and sources, I see that as a study. So I study them. I also study the Edda back in the day, and then I just try to get it out of my mind and get it into my core or soul, and then
yeah.
leave it there uh, as a feeling state of mind. Let's put it like that.
To kind of use it to do your own thing.
Exactly. Yeah. To
Yeah. Yeah.
to have some kind of knowledge is a beautiful foundation, but on top
Mm,
of that, you need to build it yourself, something like that.
yeah. So I think did you say you follow a sort of pagan rather than a Christian
Yeah,
belief
yeah, yeah.
system yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
So
that. Yeah.
when did you first encounter paganism yourself? And then I guess what drew you to that way of life?
Like when I was a child, I already felt really special energies in the forest, and I could not understand why we were not living in the forest. I thought it was mad. I thought it was really crazy,
It
and
is
so
mad.
it is still really really
Yeah.
weird. And I like it started with that, and then when I was a
Mm.
teenager, um, my mother was a weird hippie witch woman, and then I discovered the tradition of Wicca, witchcraft.
Yeah.
So, and this was basically, I would say, around the year 2000 or something like that. I was a teenager,
Mm.
and I started to reading about Wicca, and back in that day, as let's say 12, 13, 14-year-old boy, I really loved that. And I started to experiment, also to try to put it in practice and stuff like that. Of course, in this teenage way. And that just developed. It really developed when I told before, like went into this metal band, folk metal band. This guy
Yeah.
gave me his books of inspiration. I started reading them, started reading the Norse mythology, and then I discovered, oh well, this makes sense, and this culture makes sense. And then I discovered, holy shit, the Vikings. What are the Vikings and Germanic tribes? And okay, Viking is a occupation, is something like you do. It's not it is not a culture in a way. We just
Mm.
call it like that. And then I discovered, okay, so in the Viking age, the age of the Vikings, oh, early medieval times. Okay, now it's getting interesting. What did my people do in the early medieval time, and what was Europe doing, and what was the world doing at that time? Um, and then I just went deeper and deeper, and then I did some courses in Cider and Galder. Uh,
Mm.
I don't want to brag about it, but it's worth mentioning to say that it was with Einar, and that was really amazing. That then it just took off. Uh, um, it was amazing to learn about that, and then the whole magic and the feeling of entities, like godlike entities, um, just came together. Everything started to make absolutely sense, and then I just started working with that. Yeah, so that is
Mm.
basically how it developed.
So is there much of a pagan kind of community, I guess, in the Netherlands itself?
Not as much as I like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know some people that are into it, but there are levels to be into it, right? Like on a superficial way, probably I know a lot of people, but
Mm.
people that are really nerdy about it, I don't know a lot of people that are really, really into it.
Yeah. It's one of those things, guys. So on we've got another podcast called Weird Wessex, and I know recently we mentioned on there in a recent UK census, like the amount of people that tick pagan now is growing like
Oh
exponentially.
yeah.
Um, so it's definitely a growing thing. So that's why I didn't know what that kind of situation would be like for you being in the Netherlands.
Like uh, in the last 10 years, it's crazy. When I started Sowulo back in 2012, 13, uh, not really much people were into it. Uh,
Mm.
in the Netherlands, you had this pagan folk scene, but it was more like a general pagan feeling about the green man and fairies and
Mm,
forest entities and uh, and like the whole Viking thing just escalated really quickly after Vikings, and
mm,
Wardruna became more and more popular and stuff like that. Like and now you see like a lot of interest in paganism in a general way, but
yeah.
also specified on the gods that we know from the Edda.
So with your interest in history as well,
Mm-hmm.
has that ever led you to do any historical reenactment or anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. I like I also have my I don't know the English word like it doesn't matter. Like I've got this Viking group, Viking fighting group. So
Yeah.
we're training in the combat skills of early medieval period. Uh,
Mm,
and so I've got a school or like let's say a group of people that are doing that. I stopped a couple of years ago, but they are still continuing the journey. So I did that for a couple of years. Um, Being the director with a small group of that fighting group, and
yeah.
and of course I also did the reenactment part and went to events and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah. I spent a couple of days last year in the Netherlands. We went to prehistoric Dorp.
yeah, exactly. Eindhoven. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Really nice place. We spent a few days there in one of the old
amazing.
Frisian buildings.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we spent some time with a couple of ladies there that were really big into cooking and food and stuff. So that was really good.
cool. Yeah, I also
Yeah.
have a lot of footsteps there. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
some fighting demonstrations and also making music. Then I just went with a toggle harpa or yohiko and a Germanic lyre,
Yeah.
and then just made some ambient music. Yeah,
Yeah, because they have a proper sort of Viking festival, I suppose you'd call it, don't they, once a
yeah,
year?
exactly.
I'm hoping one day I'll get across because it's not that far from England. I think I can do it in about 8 hours,
Yeah,
something like that, which is about as long as it takes to get to Scotland for me. So
exactly. Like
it's not that bad.
doing it once is good enough, I think. Like if you go for it once and take the effort to be there
Yeah.
and drive 8 hours, then completely go for it and enjoy it, and then you've seen it probably. Like because indeed
Yeah.
it is amazing, but still, 2 times an 8 hour drive is doing a lot of effort.
Last time we did it was actually we drove to Midgardblot.
Hmm.
And we
Exactly.
stopped. So we did Eindhoven on the way up. Then we did
I
Denmark and Ribe, and we went through Sweden to like Tanum and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then across to Norway and went to Midgardblot. So it was about 3,000 miles in 3 weeks.
Wow. And
Which-
which year was that?
That would have been last year, so 2023.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Great.
last summer.
So you
I've been
missed
to
us there.
Midgardblot. Sorry.
So you missed Sowulo there because we were there 2 years ago at Midgardsplat. I mean.
I think I saw you then because so I've been to all but three Midgardblots, I think, two or
Hmm.
three. Yeah,
Wow.
because I often would get on a plane and fly over just for the weekend.
Oh yeah.
Um, but my daughter wanted to go and my wife wanted to go, so I said, all right. My wife doesn't fly, so we're like, all right, we'll make a journey of it and
Good.
turn it into a bit of an adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like
Yeah,
Ribe in Denmark is also really beautiful. So you had a and
yeah,
Tanum in Sweden. So you had a
yeah,
beautiful journey.
yeah. I mean, there was many stops along the way. I mean, I'd say we went to too many places to really. take everything in. I'd almost want to do it again, but maybe visit less places, but for longer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah, there's some beautiful places on that trip.
Indeed. Indeed. It's a beautiful trip.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Back to your music.
Okay.
Um, I know. So you've mentioned about being quite inspired by Wardruna, Ina Salvik. Are there any other artists or bands that have kind of inspired what you do? Because you talked about like orchestras and stuff as well. So are you into that kind of music?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I listen a lot to classical music and film music. I love film scores and stuff like Hans
Mm.
Zimmer, to just give
Yeah.
a logical example. And um, but also like back in the day, so let's say around 2011, 12. I was really into Irfan, and that is just amazing, beautiful Bulgarian music. And
Yeah.
hearing that, I had this peculiar thought, and I was like, "Oh, I want to be a Bulgarian." Like, oh my God, this sound is so amazing. This culture is so amazing. um, I want to play the oud and the oud and be Bulgarian. And like I had this conversation in my mind about it, and it was like, okay, so what is the thing here? Yeah, you love the music, but what is this thinking about? I want to be a Bulgarian, and then I thought, okay, like I miss the tradition. I want
Yeah.
to have a rich, alive tradition. And then I just started feeling like then try to make the rich or make the bridge between the old and the new. It's like also completely there in all the messages of Wardruna and Einar Selvik.
Mm.
Uh, so that was a big inspiration, Irfan. If you like general beautiful music and maybe Bulgarian kind of Middle Eastern music, then check it out, because I listened to them like for many hours, and like the classical stuff really inspires me still.
Yeah.
um that like if you listen to my music, it's really obvious, because I would say it's pretty cinematic and pretty orchestral.
Yeah,
um
definitely.
that is like what I love. So then I thought, how can I distinct myself from all the others and from all the other artists within the genre? And then just I had this thought, like, I really love orchestral music and cinematic music. So make it much more cinematic than the rest, and you will have a place within the genre. So that is really what I'm into.
Mm.
And of course, like metal, like I don't I'm absolutely not a metal head, because I don't like most of metal. I don't like most of it.
Yeah.
I think is just noisy and the same again and again and again. But there are some really amazing metal bands, like for example, Tool. um, they have this super cool compositions and really crazy time signatures and stuff like that. So you also hear that in Sowulo a lot. Crazy time signatures. It's also like there are a couple of things that I think that restrains or blocks my popularity, and one of them is the crazy far out time signatures and far out sounds and compositions, because it's not easy to listen to. But that is the point. It it needs to be it needs to ask something from you. Um,
Yeah. I guess
and
that's more engaging that way.
Exactly, but it
Yeah.
also takes a lot of energy. So you can basically like when I talk about the last two albums I made and a couple of last EPs and singles, you cannot just put that on and have a nice conversation or you have to
Yeah.
put it really, really in low volume so you basically don't hear it. But a lot of the other popular music in our genre is really calm. It's
Mm.
not that in your face. You can put it on and still have a conversation. But I really like music that demands something of you, and it demands attention. Um, so yeah, that's what I make basically.
I wonder, because counter to kind of what you're saying, I've been listening to Sowulo when I go to bed.
Hmm.
I have my headphones on
Okay.
because a lot of the time when people listen to music, like you say, it's a background thing these days, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
you put
yeah.
it on Spotify, whatever. It's like, I guess, not to get too kind of, I suppose, political, but I guess it's been devalued a bit because it's essentially, it's not free, but it's almost free, isn't it? Compared to how you used to buy an album, listen to it on repeat, that kind of thing. Um, Whereas now we don't really sit down and, or at least most people, I would say, don't sit down and just listen to an album. But
Hmm.
when you go to bed, you shut the lights off. So I've been going to bed a bit earlier, trying to get some more rest.
Yeah.
And I've been putting the Sulu music on and just kind of lying in the dark.
But then I'm really curious. Then I assume it is the Soul album, but I'm not sure. Do you know what do you have a specific
No,
album or
it's the more recent album.
okay, the
I'm
Woerdes.
terrible with names.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
Woerdes.
yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I really love to hear that because that album completely demanded the most of me. I really
yeah,
poured my soul out. It took everything. Like on a earthly way, it took the most money of all the albums. Like I really went all in for that album.
yeah,
And like personally, I love that album. I'm in love with that album. I don't listen to it,
yeah,
but I'm so like um I like when I make an album, I don't feel the owner in a way of I feel I'm co-creating the album.
yeah,
There's something out there that is creating the album through me in a way. Or like I put it, I'm co-creating it together with entities. And
yeah,
so I'm really honored how that album came out because it's a complete story. It is like yeah, it is it is round. It is a cycle, and
mm,
it demands a lot of you when you listen to it. It's almost like sometimes it's almost hysterical.
yeah.
So I love hearing from you that you're listening to it when you're in bed, because
I
it's
think personally, I think it's my favorite of your albums.
cool, but it's not relaxed, right? You could not say it's
Well, as I
really
say, I go to sleep to it. So
exactly. But I
yeah,
went a lot like when I was a teenager, I listened a lot of noisy black metal when I went to sleep.
yeah,
Um, I called it slaapruis. So how do you say it? Yeah, let's say freely translated sleeping noise, but more in a black metal way. Um,
yeah,
yeah, that also really works. So maybe it's a bit more like that for you with the Woerdes album.
yeah,
I don't know.
possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say I can normally get through at least a few tracks before I fall asleep. So I just like the fact that it kind of there's no distractions. You're lying in the dark and you're actually
Yeah.
focused. There's nothing else to be thinking about, looking at. You're not looking at your phone or anything like that. It's just
And and I'm just curious, like in your life, in your personal life, is there something about destiny and fate at the moment? Are
I don't
you on a crossroad in a way? Are you in a crossroad of fulfilling your destiny or holding yourself back uh, uh, in fulfilling your destiny in a way?
I don't know.
Okay,
It's not
cool.
something I've considered.
Okay,
I mean,
then try.
I do multiple things, right? So like my main income is I am a house painter, I'm a decorator.
Okay, yeah.
Um, but on the side to that, I do the reenactment with where I teach deer butchery and cooking,
Yeah,
which happens multiple times a year. And then on the side to that, I've got a couple of podcasts. So I kind of, yeah. So maybe I am on the cusp of going
exactly.
one way or
And
the
you're
other. I mean, I almost gave up on this podcast, but I
exactly.
had some complaints, so I brought it back again. So you could class that, I guess, as a
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Because
yeah,
basically trying to keep that all going is like juggling. Do you say it in
yeah,
English, juggling?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you've got
absolutely,
too many balls going up in the air,
yeah,
and so everything is not getting that much attention, and probably somewhere within yourself, deep within, is saying like I should put more attention to this or that, and
yes,
not to this
absolutely,
and that.
yeah,
So basically, I would say that that is the conversation of you and the Norns, or you and destiny.
mm,
I think the Norns, the beautiful two or three Norns, are inviting you to listen to yourself and your the deep wishes in your heart, and giving shape to your destiny, and that is what the Wordis album is about. So
okay,
I
that's a very interesting connection.
I think that is the subconscious thing that you want to hear that when you close your eyes, and
Yeah,
your brain wants to hear those sounds.
yeah,
Let's get spiritual. Hear those frequencies about getting aligned with with your fate or your destiny.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd say there's something to that, I guess, because like people often say, I don't know how you do all these different things.
Yeah,
And my response is usually I do lots of things badly because, like
yeah,
you
yeah.
say, you can't commit as
No,
much time as you'd like to these things.
yeah, indeed.
So, yeah,
And like in a dramatical way, uh, speaking, when you decease, when you die, what
mm,
will people remind you of? Like, what did you do then, right? So you don't have to
yeah,
answer, but like, I
yeah,
think that is a good question to yourself to start with. Like, everybody who's listening also to this podcast, it's like,
yeah,
ask yourself, how do I want people to remember me when I pass away? What is the main thing? What I would love people to remember you of doing what, and basically that gives you a good direction of what you need to do in this life, because basically it's not selfish, right? It is what you came here on this earth in this reality to bring into the world. um um yeah, so have fun with that.
yeah. Right. So, just to link this back to questions that I pre-wrote, because I think this is very interesting because you don't need to answer the next question because of what we've just discussed.
Amazing.
My next question was, what do you hope listeners take away from your music, both
Mm.
musically and spiritually? That was going to be the next question,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you've already answered
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every
Um,
album has a different message basically,
yeah.
but yeah, go deep within yourself, and try to figure out some big answers.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've probably not heard this podcast before, right?
I saw some glimpses of it, but not really, no.
So I have a bunch of questions that are kind of just for fun questions that I ask every guest just to like round off the interview, if that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Some of them are a bit strange, but I
I
feel like
love
you're the kind of
French.
guy that'll just roll with it.
Oh
And
yeah, exactly.
yeah. All right. So the first one is, do you think you could survive on a Viking Age diet?
Oh yeah, easily.
Easily.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
in this modern world, I don't eat meat at all. I'm a vegetarian for like I would say at least 15 years, maybe, yeah, like 17 years, something like that.
Mm.
And that is basically because of the bio industry, and like we're doing crazy motherfucking crazy stuff with food. Also, the
Sure.
non-vegetarian food is crazy nowadays. Like, but like in a way, in a holistic way, I see like what it takes to get 1 kilograms of meat. It's way too crazy for me in a way of like how much water it costs and how much energy it costs, and the conditions that we put these other creatures in. It's just completely crazy, but I love the taste
Yeah.
of meat, right? Like that's not
Yeah.
the point here. So if it's a completely wild animal, um, then of course it becomes completely different for me. So when you put me back in the Iron Age, for example, of course I would completely love my wild boar and deer and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
and like yesterday, I was eating a really nice stew, and we had a conversation about it. Like stew is the most like traditional food I can think of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just put stuff in there, whatever you have, right? Um, so we ate a stew with onions and carrots and of course mushrooms and loke and some nice butter.
What
Um,
was, sorry, what was the last one? Did you say loke?
yeah, loke.
What's loke?
Uh, I don't know. Uh,
Okay.
loaf? No, no, loke. I think. I don't know.
I don't know what that is. How do you spell it?
I like in the Netherlands it's called
Hmm.
prei. So, but I'm not sure how you say it in English. Let's have a look. Leek. Sorry.
Oh, leek. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I should have
So,
should have suggested that. I guess that's quite obvious. But I thought it might have been something else because I thought it might have been something we don't get here, maybe.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But like that is pretty solid food for like historical food, right? For like
Yeah.
thousands of years, thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course nowadays we've got potatoes and stuff to put in there, but you can just uh get that out and then become really historical nerdy. How would you
Yeah.
say you would make a Viking Age or Iron Age stew?
Similar to what you've been saying, maybe if because of like you say no potatoes, maybe I'm quite a big fan of adding barley. So you've got a bit of grains in there.
Okay, yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even something like a cracked wheat, like bulgur wheat, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, it's a lot of herbs, lots of root
Yeah,
vegetables, um, some kind of stock.
yeah. And
Yeah.
like the second day, your stew is even better. And then you just put
Yeah.
a little bit more extra of something in there, right? You talked
Yeah.
about the meat before that you do preparation of meat or something. Like put it
Yeah.
in there and just keep it in there for 24 hours or some stuff like that, or put it in there the
Yeah.
second day and will become even better. So
Yeah. And that adds to all the stock and everything you get as well from the stew. Just kind of, yeah,
So
it's
everybody
good.
who's listening, please eat your nice stew tonight.
Do
It's
you know
amazing.
what? I might make a stew today now that you've
Oh,
said
yeah.
that. That's
I'm
yeah.
gonna go for a second round of stew today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So next question is there any food you'd miss on a Viking Age diet?
Mm. Yeah, probably a lot. But like because I also, as a modern day person, I really love the different types of food, right? So, like one day I ate really spicy and Indian food or
Yeah.
Thai, and then like nice pasta. Um, so it's all over the place, and I really like that. Like every day, like what we're gonna do completely different now. It's a bit like my
Yeah.
music. It's like going into extremes, right? One thing is really loud, and then it's gonna be really soft and slow, and that
Yeah.
continuously in one song. So basically, I also have that with my food pattern. Is like one day I want to eat really spicy, and then just really soft food. So I would miss that a lot. But I think like my most favorite ingredient as a vegetarian is of course cheese, and as a Dutch person. So like uh, and back in the Viking Age, you had a lot of nice cheese. So I will survive. I would survive.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is probably the strangest of the bunch is what's the weirdest thing in your kitchen?
Mm. Well, my kitchen is quite strange because as I mentioned earlier, my all my cutlery is early medieval cutlery, like
Yeah.
the cups, the pottery, the glasswork, not
I'm
not
interested actually. Does that mean you don't use do you use forks?
yeah, forks and
Yeah.
knives are indeed still
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
Spoons are wood,
Wooden spoons.
uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I don't use it that much, but I also have um, cook pots, pottery, and I think that is amazing. So probably that
Yeah.
is the weirdest thing in my kitchen is pottery to put in embers of fire to
Yeah.
make stew in there or something like that. But like a stew is really perfect for that because you have got this big pottery and you put a lot of ingredients in there, put it in the embers of the fire, keep it there for ages, and then it's a lovely dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a friend who makes pottery just as a hobby.
Oh yeah.
Um he was on the podcast a while back and I know he listens, so hello Paul. And when he's testing his pots, he actually tests them on like the gas hob in the kitchen and he'll cook stews and things in them. So you can actually cook in the kitchen with them.
Cool. I love that idea. But I don't
Yeah.
have gas in
Yeah.
my kitchen. But yeah, I love the
Same
idea.
problem for me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just an interesting idea because you'd think they wouldn't maybe survive on a gas hob, but they do. So
Yeah,
he'll
they made
often,
for that extreme heat, indeed. That's amazing, right? I also
yeah.
think like whenever I hold it, I'm like, will it make? But you know it will make, but it's just weird. As a modern human, you think this is
Mm.
not strong enough, but it
They
is.
do eventually break. I've got one and it's
Yeah,
got a crack that runs all the way down. And if
yeah,
I fill it with milk to make cheese, it leaks.
yeah,
But when it's been
exactly.
in the fire, it stops leaking. It
Yeah,
like seals
exactly.
back up with the milk. So at the moment, it's surviving.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Next question is what's the worst food or drink you've ever had?
Mm. Mm. Well, I don't have a specific thing in my mind, so I was trying to crystallize it a bit. But I
Yeah.
I I toured with Heilung a lot for years. Before the
Mm.
pandemic, I was one of the warriors from the first show ever until the pandemic. So
Yeah.
the last show was in England at the Jorvik Festival. But like in that period, we were touring a lot, and sometimes the food was amazing, but we also had like crazy food, and everybody was having diarrhea and
Oh,
puking and stuff. Um, so I think in that period I had some weird and fucked up food. Yeah,
But
and
nothing specific.
no, I'm sorry, nothing specific comes to mind.
Yeah,
What happened then, or what I had, sometimes I also didn't know what we were eating, right? Um,
yeah.
um, so yeah, yeah. I sorry, I don't have a specific answer to that.
No, that's fair. Um, what's the most memorable meal you've ever had?
Hmm. Then several stuff comes up to mind. I must say, I don't want to be disrespectful for the food, but it always um, um, has something to do with the context of the eating.
Yeah,
So I think of when you ask me that question, I see a couple of meals on beautiful places, like for example, historical open air musea, and you had a long day and you're gathering around a fire and you're getting your food, having a historical, meaningful, nutritious, healthy dinner with a group of lovely people around the fire after a long day being out in the open. That is the those moments are when the food really feels magical, and like
mm,
then you really come to the essence of food, because in a physical way, food and sleep is all that matters for the human, right? uh
mm,
like drinking first and then sleep and food. um like uh like we think a lot, our brain has taken over, but if you
yeah,
put it way back, we're just a tube. Something goes in, something goes out. um
yeah.
if you look at single cell organisms and stuff like that, that's the only thing that is happening. And we started like that, right? And we developed and
Mm,
developed, and like one cell became two, and two became a couple of millions.
mm,
But still, that is the essence of this reality, or life itself. Breathing, um drinking, so water, and then food and sleeping. Um, so um, taking in food is one of the most spiritual thing you can do. Um, you don't need a spiritual practice or anything. It is the deepest, profoundest thing that there is in this life.
mm,
So you should make your dinner time holy and really appreciate what you have, what you created, because also the creating of food is really magical. You're putting
mm,
different ingredients, you've got this alchemist thing going on because you're heating,
yeah.
and then the basic, like you put it in your mouth, you have this experience, we call it taste, and then
Mm.
you live, your cells build from that stuff, right? So it's completely magical, and it's the most deep spiritual Viking thing you can do.
I have one more question to round off with. But personally, I just wanted to quickly ask you. I noticed that you've got some OM on your arm. Can I ask what it says, or is that for
It's
your own personal?
so it's I probably don't pronounce it correct, but it's Ogham, right? Ogham, or the
Yeah,
writing of the Druids.
yeah.
And it says Woordis. So Woordis, we talked about that album.
Mm,
Boerdis is the Proto-Germanic name for destiny. So when I was making the album, uh,
mm,
I was having a difficult time, and I also felt like I'm on this crossroad, and I need to get in contact with the Norns or destiny or
mm,
Word. Um, and So yeah, I did my best to build up a connection and relationship with destiny. That is what the album is all about. And
mm.
then I felt that I needed to have this on my arm, um, to remind me of the that chapter, that
Yeah,
relationship, that close relationship to faith, or my faith, my destiny, and reminds me of keeping on the path of my destiny.
nice. So the very, very last question that I ask every guest, it's hypothetical. So when you die, your relatives are preparing your grave goods. What food and drink do you get to take to feast in Valhalla?
I'm gonna stick to this magical stew I was talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be stew
nice.
with some lovely mushrooms. I want to have some amazing, tasty, tasteful mushrooms, and yeah,
What would you wash it down with? Have you got a preference?
yeah, that's gonna be mead,
Mead. Yeah,
wine. Oh yeah,
nice.
without a doubt. Yeah, I'm cliche like
Mm.
that. I love my meat. Yeah, 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 yeah.
See, if I was answering the question, I'm not. But if I was, I'd steer away from mead because I happen to know in Valhalla they've got a constant supply of mead already. So I'd take something else.
Ah, love that. Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah. You thought about longer about it than me. And when you say that, I also agree. Like, yeah.
yeah,
But maybe you can sneak in some herbal tea in Valhalla as well.
yeah.
Yeah, you probably
Okay.
can have a one-on-one agreement with one of the Valkyries or Frigga or something, and say like, "Can I have tea for one day?" And you will succeed.
Nice. So, where can people follow you? I guess most importantly, find your music. Or even I don't know whether you've got any upcoming gigs, anything like that you want to plug.
Yeah, well, it's not out in the open yet, but we're gonna start doing full-on tours in 2025. So yeah, please check that out, because we're gonna try to get in touch with a lot of people and a lot of crowd. And
Mm,
yeah, and I'm working on a new album. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I really hope to release the new album in 2025. Um, and we're gonna do a lot of cool festivals in the summer. Um, so like primarily is the music. So please check out the music itself on Spotify and on concerts. But also, if you want to get more in depth about what's behind it all, then of course Instagram is the place to be.
yeah, perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lovely
Um,
conversation. Thank you so much for
quite
that.
insightful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching or listening. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye bye.